Russia has denied reports that U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has spoken to Russian President Vladimir Putin in recent days after Washington Post first claimed about the call, citing unidentified sources. The controversy comes a day after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke with Trump, with the Republicans' billionaire backer Elon Musk also notably joining them on the call. Zelensky described the call as excellent, saying that he and Trump had agreed to maintain close dialogue and advance their cooperation. During his campaign, Trump repeatedly vowed to quickly end the Ukraine war, but without detailing his thinking. However, The Telegraph reported this week that Trump's peace plan for Ukraine would see the current front line frozen in place and Ukraine agreeing to shelve its ambition to join the NATO. In exchange, the U.S. would reportedly provide Ukraine weapons to deter Russia from restarting the war. The outgoing Democratic administration of President Joe Biden has confirmed that it will send as much aid as possible to Ukraine before Trump's inauguration on January 20th next year. This would include using the remaining $6 billion of funding for Ukraine. These developments come as the war nears the 1,000-day mark and Russia and Ukraine launched their biggest drone attacks on each other. Ukraine launched a drone strike on Moscow, its biggest attack on the Russian capital since the beginning of the war in 2022. The fierce onslaught forced the temporary shutdown of two of the city's major airports, injuring at least one person. Russian officials claimed to have shot down 34 drones flying towards Moscow over the Ramenskoye and Kolomensky districts of the Moscow region. Strikes were also reported in Domodedovo city, home to one of the city's biggest airports. Though Moscow reported no major damage, Russia's Federal Air Transport Agency said that their airports had to divert flights. Moscow and its surrounding region, with a population of at least 21 million people, is one of the biggest metropolitan areas in Europe alongside Istanbul. Kolomensky is an administrative and municipal district located nearly 20 kilometers from Moscow. The Ramenskoye district, some 45 kilometers southeast of the Kremlin. It was last targeted by Ukraine in September in what was then the biggest attack on the Russian capital. Ukraine, on the other hand, claims at least 2 people were injured in a Russian drone attack on the Odessa region. Ukraine's Air Force claimed its air defenses downed 62 out of 145 Russian drones launched on 13 regions of the war-torn country, including Odessa. Russian authorities have not yet commented on the attack.
For the 4th night in a row, the enemy targets our city. There were several drones, you all know and see what's going on today. Luckily, there are no victims, but there are injured people. There are many damaged residences and apartments. Private houses were destroyed. People have to be on the street now.
Dr. Sergei Sumleny is a defense expert and director, European Resilience Initiative Center, is a former director at the Henrik Ball Foundation Bureau in Kiev, is now joining us live on this broadcast. Dr. Sumleny, good to see you. What do you think about the latest developments that is happening in Ukraine? Because Russia says that they downed the drones by Ukraine, but Ukraine says that they have gained ground. Sumleny, can you hear me? All right. We'll talk to Sergei Sumleny in a short while from now. The latest is that Russia has denied reports that U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has spoken to Russian President Vladimir Putin in recent days after Washington Post first claimed about the call, citing unidentified sources. We also understand that the controversy comes a day after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke with Trump, with the Republicans' billionaire backer Elon Musk also notably joining them on the call. And we also understand that Zelensky said the call or the conversation was excellent. Let's talk to our guest now. Dr. Sergei Sumleny is a defense expert and director of European Resilience Initiative Center. Dr. Sumleny, we had lost you for a bit there, and you were just giving me your sense of the situation in Ukraine. Probably you can continue.
Yes, I hope you can hear me now, and thank you for having invited me. As you said, Russia announced that they have shot down all Ukrainian drones, but that is what Russia always says, even when we have video footage of Ukrainian drones hitting Russian targets. The Russians say they have shot down all drones. But I think this is like just ongoing development on the ground. Important is what messages Russia sends to Donald Trump, president-elect in the US. And here the message is pretty clear. It is a message that Vladimir Putin is not ready to talk about any ceasefire in Ukraine. President-elect Donald Trump has called 2 days ago Vladimir Putin not to escalate and be ready for talks. And what happened last night, Russia has raised into air over 10 of its strategical bombers and imitated a massive launch of missiles against Ukrainian cities. Some missiles have been launched indeed in Kryvyi Rih, in a birth town of President Zelensky. 5 stories living house has been hit by Russian missile. That is pretty strong answer from Vladimir Putin to Donald Trump, which means I don't want to talk to you. I'm doing whatever I want. You will not stop me. I hope that Donald Trump will read this message and will respond with a strong answer, not with another call for negotiations, which are not interesting for Vladimir Putin.
Dr. Sumleny, how do you foresee this war going on in the next 2 months or so before Donald Trump is inaugurated on January 20th? Because he says that he wants the war to end before he's inaugurated. Do you think that will be possible?
I don't think it is possible. Russia sees the situation as advantages for Russia. Russia believes that they can gain more Ukrainian land and weaken Ukraine. So for Russia, there is no need to stop. As President Joe Biden is not ready to deliver enough weapons to Ukraine, the last reports of Pentagon says that the United States under President Biden have delivered only 10% of equipment to Ukraine, which the US has promised Ukraine to deliver, only 10%. And I don't see any reason for President Biden to change this course. He could have done it, but this would mean that he acknowledged his former mistakes. And I don't think he is in a mood to acknowledge his former mistakes. So we will see very little support for Ukraine on military equipment area. We will see that Russia will continue pushing Ukraine, believing that they have now a chance to gain as much territory as possible, also using North Korean troops in Kursk region, for example, and then in a hope that when President Trump will be inaugurated, then Russia can come with some sort of proposal of some sort of negotiated peace solution, but not before Russia regains control over the Kursk region, now currently controlled by Ukraine. Because when Russia says we freeze the front line as it is, this would mean that Ukraine continues to control a part of Russia's territory, which is unacceptable for Moscow.
Dr. Sumleny, finally, who do you believe here? Who's saying what? Because when Donald Trump was campaigning, we heard that if he wins the election, then Ukraine is in trouble because Donald Trump, he's said in the past that he has a very good relationship with Vladimir Putin, and he will call Vladimir Putin in the next 24 hours and tell him to end the war. But now we've seen that he's actually spoken to Volodymyr Zelensky first, and he says their conversation was excellent. Who do you believe here?
Now, I think that Donald Trump is not that much controlled by Russia, as many of his critics used to believe. Of course, he has in his close circle of advisors and friends, people who really would like to have good connection with Vladimir Putin. But so Joe Biden has. Think about the advisors of Joe Biden, like Jake Sullivan or other people from the Democratic administration close to them, like Mr. Kupchan or like Mr. Sharap. They all were all-time open to talk to Vladimir Putin. So the real danger is if President Donald Trump will not believe in Ukraine's victory and will say, I do not believe that you can win, so I want to set a false deal, and here is my ultimatum, either you do that or you get no weapons more. That would be a real danger. But once again, Ukraine was getting that low level of U.S. military support under the last months of President Joe Biden that Donald Trump is not able to significantly reduce this number, as this number is already ridiculously low. So I hope very much that President Vladimir Putin will do something what he's doing now, like insulting Donald Trump. We have seen recently Russian state TV has published naked photos of President Trump's wife, Melania Trump, and that is exactly they do to provoke Trump to say, we don't care of you. You are not a person we respect. We publish naked photos of your wife, etc. And I think that Donald Trump will read this message. There is no deal with Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is a criminal, and he needs to be dealt as a criminal with strength.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. I've been talking to Dr. Sergei Sumleni. He's a defense expert and director of European Resilience Initiative. Dr. Sumleni, thank you.
Thank you so much.